a little bit about yourself again and what dealership, just so people can meet you?
No, all good. So I reside in Sydney, Australia, and I work for a BMW dealership. I am pretty much finished in training now. I started in November last year, so I'm relatively new. That's a bullet I'm trying to bite at the moment. But yeah, so I haven't been around too long. And then yeah, like we spoke about last time, I've sort of had a month to think about it and sit on it. So there's a few things I'd like to cover today, but yeah, pretty much getting back to the basics. That's where I'm pretty much stuck at.
Yeah, totally.
That's yeah.
Yeah, the basics are the foundation of the car business. Everything is built off the basics, right? You have that foundation of what you learned in the first few months of car business career, and then you build off of it. The higher your career building, the more frail it gets as you get taught. You know, your foundation's always there. The keeping it simple is going to always be there. So sometimes we get so far up there and we haven't built the proper structure on how to be able to handle sounding like a pro, but you don't really have the experience to actually do pro things. And sometimes it crumbles and you got to start back over. But guess what? When you start back over and you start back from the basics, what happens, do you think?
Sell more cars.
You get strong, and you get stronger too, because you learn how to build up again, right? Your foundation is bigger and stronger. Yeah. So even me, 20 years in the car business, sometimes I have to remember the basics. Okay, Kyle, don't panic. You're closing a deal for one of your sales guys. Go back to having fun again, making customers laugh again. What happened to that? Why has it got to be so serious? So I commend you for, you know, one of my greatest I don't know what word to use, but the fact that you hired me again warms my heart, because it tells me that you're learning something, and you want more. So thank you for doing that again, and doing this one-on-one again. I appreciate it. And
no, that's fine.
And I like seeing your feedback. And you're at MacArthur BMW in Sydney, Australia, right?
Yep.
It's a beautiful dealership. After we talked last time, I went onto your guys' website and Facebook and stalked you guys a little bit. It's a beautiful showroom. You guys pack it tight.
It's a smaller dealership compared to, say, the other BMWs in the area. I had the luxury of heading out to one towards a little bit more of the city, and they've got a big showroom, and it sort of got me to thinking that, you know, because it's quite tough at the moment, I was sort of thinking about how other dealerships are doing, and that sort of kicked me back into gear of what's everybody else doing? Am I doing the same thing as everybody else? Am I just typical Bob that you find down the road, or, you know, just a typical salesperson? Which is something that I feel like I've lost now that I know all these things. And, you know, like we spoke about before, not knowing things helps, because I guess you're just able to establish that connection with a customer. And now knowing all these other things, I feel like I should be able to use all my knowledge, but for some reason, I just feel like applying it, I'm having a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think with you, Ermin, I think what it is you actually know all the stuff. You know how to sell a car. You have all the fundamentals, and you have that suave, the car guy look. You have it all. It's just putting it together in an order that makes sales, right? And I'm sure you hear from your managers and your coworkers, man, you got all the talent in the world, right? You just got to figure out how to use it. I have guys at my dealership. It's the same thing. I can look at them and say, you are a superstar. You just haven't figured out the ingredients to put together to make it happen. And that's what training comes in and experience. So again, kudos to you for going out on your lunch break. Instead of eating a big old sandwich and then passing out upstairs in the food coma, you're out still trying to learn. And I commend that about you. It's amazing that there's people out there like you around the world that are hungry to get better and better and become a sales titan and go to the very, very top and make 6 figures a year, right? That's what you're worth. And maybe 7 figures one day, right? So kudos to you. So a couple things that you sent me were breaking down the month in numbers, right? The formula to how many cars I want to sell and what is it going to take to sell that many cars. So some people will put down a goal of, I want to sell 15 cars this month, right? But they don't have a way to do it. They just say, I'm going to sell 15 cars, but mentally they don't have a game plan of how many ups does that mean, right? How many test drives does that mean? How many write-ups? How many no's does it take to sell 15 cars a month? It takes a lot of no's, right? It takes a lot of heartache to sell 15 cars, blood, sweat, and tears. So we'll go over that. And then you also mentioned focusing on the appointment over the phone, not trying to sell the car.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm sort of realizing at the moment. Even for example, like I think the mindset behind it is activity. Like on the paper that I sent you, activity equals results, and I feel like that's not what I'm having. Where before I'd have people come in all day, my day's over in 5 minutes. Where now I'm sort of just more reactive than proactive, right? And that's why I think focusing on the appointments and less over the phone and emails, just get the person in and start there. That's what I think is a big focus, especially now that there's not a lot of foot traffic in. I've probably got 4 cars in my yard to sell in terms of brand new cars, because our departments are sort of split up with pre-owned and new cars. I'd like to tap into that pre-owned car department as well. Maybe I'm just a bit afraid to take on that, I guess. Because yeah, not a lot of foot traffic, so I need to make things happen, and that's where we are.
Yeah, and you know who Joe Verdi is? He's an old car sales trainer. You ever heard that name? He's.
I feel like you've heard of. I've heard it on your podcast.
Yeah, so Joe Verdi is an old sales trainer from the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, and he's got a lot of good content. But one of the things they call it is the Joe Verdi hope system. You're just hoping to sell a car today, right? You're going to work and you're hoping. So there's those kind of salesmen, and then there's the salesmen that are like, I'm going to work, I'm going to sell a car, I just have to figure out how I'm going to do it. And they don't stop all day. They will sell a car that day. Even if it's someone from a gas station, their goal is to sell a car, and nothing will stop them from it. Because I know guys that are selling 30 cars a month, right? 30 cars a month is a car every day you work. Actually, it's more. So I know that a dealership can sell, your dealership sells more than 30 cars a month, right?
Yes.
So there's a car sold every day at your dealership. Why can't that be you as the salesman selling it? It can be. You just have to have the clout and the I call it the celebrity factor, where everyone just wants to deal with you. They're going to wait for you. Like, no, I want to deal with Ermin. That's it. I just want to deal with that guy. I'll wait for him. Okay. So you have to get to that level too, to get to 30 cars a month. It just doesn't happen by taking ups. It's by people asking for you and things like that. So we'll talk about that too. And then because we talked about setting the appointment. And then you also mentioned talking about how you end up just spewing a bunch of information out, and you're making it less about the customer. Is that something that you wanted to cover, right?
Yeah. Like as I wrote those things, I was sort of thinking on the spot. But yeah, that whole information comes back to just knowing a bit too much, and when to actually say things and why I'm saying it. It's the same thing as listen to understand versus listen to reply. That's one of my biggest issues, is like cutting people off. It's not intentional at all. I just feel like we're having a conversation, and I guess I got something important to say. And then I guess that maybe puts the guest on the back foot. Yeah, so it was a pretty broad point, but yeah, that was my understanding of it.
So that can actually be it could be a confidence thing disguised, because you want to say everything that you know to show your customer that you're not an idiot in the car business, right? And so sometimes you just go on and on and on about stuff, and because you're kind of showing off. But it's a confidence thing sometimes, because when you're really confident in yourself and your abilities and your experience and your car knowledge, you don't have to spew nothing. You can ask questions and control the conversation, right? Because you know everything about everything. So not that we know everything, you know what I mean, though.
I don't, yeah.
We don't always know everything, but when you have that confidence, you can put the customer not on the back burner of because you're just talking, but you can put them on their heels because now you're asking them questions and they're having to figure out things to say to you, and you start controlling that process. So we'll talk about that too. And then I think that was it. So let's start.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it.
Yeah, let's talk about breaking down your month in numbers. Okay, so do you have a printed out calendar on your desk that you can visually look at every day, not on your phone, like a printed out piece of paper that you could slide underneath? So let's say this is your calendar. You got all 31 days and you could slide it underneath a piece of glass or somewhere where you have to look at it.
I've got a big diary that's sort of page by day. That
Okay, so when you get back into the dealership, I want you to go on Google and type in this month's calendar and print it out on an 8.5 by 11 paper. Okay. Yep. Because this is the starting point of figuring out how to sell 15 cars in a month. The diary, it's not going to work because you have to open it and you have to turn pages. It has to be something that's, do you guys have glass on your desk? Like where you can slide stuff?
Yeah, I've got a spot.
Okay.
That I slide it in.
What I want you to do too is, if this is the calendar, I want you to put a little piece of tape that hangs that you can slide it in and pull it out, because you're going to pull this thing out every day. Okay.
Okay.
And so what I have my guys do that are very successful that actually use it is every day they sell a car, they fill in a square with a highlighter, let's say pink. Okay. So on the first of the month that they sold a car, they fill it in pink. And what they can start visualizing is, how many days do I go without a color in that square? And it becomes alarming to you that you see patches of pink. Okay. The first step is acknowledging that, kind of where you're at, right? Thinking about where you're at, but you need to visualize it every day. So I have a guy, his name's Peter, and he's new to the car business. The guy's in second place for the whole store. He sold 160 or 170 cars last year. He's doing really well. He came from the grocery business. He religiously stares at this thing every day. He pulls it out, he looks at it and thinks, okay, where am I at? And he has fun with it, almost like a game. Like, oh, I sell cars every third day or whatever. But it's in his forefront of his visual every day. Okay, so you need to start there. Do you have a goal this month already of how many cars you want to sell? A true goal?
I'm just falling a little bit behind.
Not the behind part.
Started off with.
That's okay. But when the month started, did you have a goal?
Not truthfully, not exactly. It was just sort of the dealership, their sort of, not requirements, but their plan is everybody sells 10 cars. There's 3 of us, we sell 10 cars, there's 30 cars, and off we go. The idea is 15, 20, but with the current sort of climate, I guess, you got to sort of pull it back a little bit. So I was planning on just 10 cars, make it nice and simple. What I did last month, I ended up catching up a bit towards the end.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a slow start to this month. I'm sitting at 2 currently, and today's the 13th. So, but yeah. So not a full-blown plan that I sat there and said, well, this is where I want to be. Okay,
no problem. So here's what I want to ask this question. How many cars do you need to sell every 3 days when you want to be at 10 cars for the month? I don't even know if I worded that right. If you got let me just tell you, if you got a 30-day month and you want to sell 10 cars, how many days do you need to sell? How many days go by when you need to sell a car?
3 days. Oh.
Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah.
30 divided by 10. So you need to have you need to have a pink square every 3 days. So you got 3, 6, 9, 12. There has to be a pink square in that for you to hit your 10 cars. Okay. So that's the second part of planning out your goals, is divide how many cars you want to sell by the days in the month. And that will tell you 0.33. So you need to sell a car every 3 days, right? To hit your 10, because once you get behind, it's very hard to catch up. Okay. So another thing that salesmen don't like to hear, and I didn't like to hear it, is are you working on your days off when you're behind?
It's an interesting one. Yes and no. Not actively as if I was sitting at my desk. It's more just the follow up, making sure prior customers that have bought cars, any issues that pop up, anything like that, order follow ups, more like that. Less of going out and actually doing things.
Right. Okay, that's all right. So, I mean, you still are active on those days, but if you want to hit your 10 cars every month, then you have to hit those 1 car every 3 days, whether it's your days on or your days off. That's how the month breaks up your goal. Okay. So again, I go back to myself as a salesman. When I was in sales, I hated working my days off, but I also loved a gigantic paycheck. So what do I do? What do I do, right? If I'm behind on my numbers, I got to make up for it somehow. It's not just going to be a magical hat trick day back to back. I sold 6 cars in 2 days. You have to chisel at it, man. You have to break that month down, and you have to be diligent about and having self-discipline to hit your every 3-day goal. So you break down your goal into miniature goals, right? Every 3 days, I need a pink square on my calendar or whatever color you pick.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will help break down your month. Now, you also mentioned like, hey, it takes me 60 ups to sell 15 cars or whatever that ratio was. It was 1 to 4, I believe.
Yeah. So this was, I had a new GM come in and we sort of just sat down and I sort of just went into the office, had a chat just to see what he thinks. He's a little bit more calculated and numbers wise. And the sort of industry standard over here is 1 in 4 buys. So every 4 people you speak to, 1 of them will buy. I am sitting currently probably like a 1 in 7, 1 in 6, 1 in 7, if I sort of look back on it.
Yeah.
And then we sat there and said, look, for 15 car sales, you need to speak to 60 people. How many appointments would it take to sell those 15 cars? If say, 10 appointments, 6 show up, 4 buy. That was the sort of idea behind it.
Does he have a college degree? Did he hang it up yet?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I feel like he's very calculated, very books, and his sort of idea is, as people say things, you're calculating in the back of your head. Where, for example, my other boss is very simple and everybody likes the guy and he's just very easy flowing and it just works, right? That's my best way to describe it. Which I guess it sort of works for me, but at the same time, I'm open to all suggestions and I'm open to,
Well, a credit to your new GM. There's a reason why he's in that position. So the guy probably has a lot of good ideas to listen to and jot down and kind of mimic. No one accidentally gets to that position, right?
He has a 64-page book or booklet that he made on, I guess, the full road to the sale. And each chapter is, and it's funny that we spoke about it last time on our road to sale and his variation, and it really sort of breaks down into a way you can understand it. It's not something that I spoke to the office about. Not everybody lives by it religiously. A lot of people don't even know it's a thing. I just thought, look, as basics, I can sit there and I have a plan of where I'm heading and what questions to ask to get to the next step, and I have a structure, and that comes back to the fundamentals, which is what I feel like I don't have.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You got a new GM that's obviously very knowledgeable and focused himself, because someone to look up to too, when you see someone that's a business professional and because I have them in my life, I'm like, I want to grow up to be like you. Even at 39 years old, I still think that. There's a guy that works at my auto group that I can't wait to be like him. He's just an amazing employee. So there's guys out there that you'll always learn from no matter how old you get. So on the breaking down the goals, I need you to print that out. Divide your goal by how many days are in the month. And if it says 0.33, right? 10 divided by 30 is 0.33. You need to sell a car every 3 days. Okay. Yeah. So that's another part. Just breaking down the goal itself. Now, I was a 1 in 5 guy on the sales floor. I needed to talk to 5 customers to sell a car. So when I went to work, it wasn't, I need to sell a car. Of course you need to sell a car. That's your job title. My goal was, I need to help 5 people. and I need to gather 5 people's names, phone numbers, emails, whatever I can get out of these people, because the 4 that don't buy that day, I have people to follow up with, right?
Tomorrow. Yeah.
So in 3 days, if I only take one up, I still got those 4 people that didn't buy 3 days ago, and I can do some follow up. But I need 5 people for Kyle's closing ratio to make a car deal. So when you go to work, break down what it takes. If it's 7, that's okay. If it's 4, great. There's a guy that I know that does it in 3. We broke him down and it was 3. I'm like, man, you're better than I was. So whatever it is, don't worry about the car sale. It will come. You need to focus on, I need to take 7 ups today or talk to 7 people and do everything I can to get 7 people, because I know I'm going to at least get 1. Okay. So then how many hours do you work in a day? 9 hours, maybe?
Oh, well, yeah.
12?
That was the other point I was going to bring up. Well, 9 to 5 is, I think it's 8.5 hour day, 9 hour day that we're here.
Okay. So now divide how many ups you need to take by the hours. Okay. So you need to take like 1.2 ups an hour. Like where you're talking to somebody, you got to get in front of somebody once every hour and get all their information. So now you're kind of micro dissecting what it actually takes to sell a car, and how many hours it takes, or to break it down, per hour, per customer. So if you really want to know your stats, you got to start doing some math and writing it down and figuring out, I need to talk to 5 people, do 4 test drives, right? Do 3 write-ups, 2 make it to finance, 1 gets approved and signs. That was my ratio. So you need to figure out your ratio, and every day that is your goal. So on your calendar, you can put on that day, I need to take 7 ups, I need to do 6 test drives, I need to do 5 write-ups, figure out. And then the last one is, I made a sale. When you are that busy, or you create that kind of busyness, your day goes by, like you said, boom, like that. And then you have all that information to do follow-up. So then you can start compiling, okay, a customer base that you can follow up. And you need to religiously follow up with them, because they count as one of your 7 ups for that day. Okay. So that's breaking it down. You really got to get mathematical and break it down and see how many does it take per day for me to sell a car. It's not just, I got to go to work and sell a car. You can't wing it.
Yeah, and that's one of the bigger things which now I've realized is the case, right? Even when you mention, look how many hours they actually sitting there and working, you know what I mean by that? Are you working 3 hours a day? You're working 9? Are you going through the motions when you talk to people? Are you genuinely trying to help them? Are you just trying to make the deal? All these things that when I first started, for the longest time, I just sat there watching everyone, and that's all they were doing. And I was like, great, I get all the, and that's how I sold cars. Whereas now I feel like I'm going through the motions and talking to people just to talk to them, getting distracted by all these unnecessary things and people that I guess are nowhere or have no reason to be taking up my time. So that's
to stay on top of the game, you got to be kind of like that helicopter analogy I used a couple videos ago. Right. You got to have your pedal to the metal, full throttle, to keep that helicopter going up, or at least stay elevated. It's easy for salesmen to take their foot off the gas and start falling, because everyone kind of funnels to the bottom. It's the easy place. It's the comfortable place. But the guys that are really shining every month are the guys that never sit down. They're never on a game at the dealership. They didn't disappear and go take a nap somewhere. They're always doing something minute by minute. So in your 9-hour shift, Ermin, you work 8 hours and 30 minutes. Of course, you got to use the restroom and eat, whatnot, but you get what I'm saying there.
If I'm being truthful to myself and being really honest, that it's one of those, work the 3 hours a day, or when you're always talking to someone, everything else in between that. Am I actually trying to sell a car, or am I going through the motions of the day, or
almost like
just
you
going
need
through the motions?
Like put a sticky note where it's like you can see it on your forehead forehead. It says, am I doing something right now to sell a car? You know?
Yeah.
And try to keep that in your mind. And if you really want to get to that level, if you just are going through the motions and pretending, then you'll never actually get there. But if you really want to get there and make it to the big dogs table, right, with the owners and the GMs, and you don't even know who paid for your steak dinner, you're like, it's paid for? Okay. Right. When you want to get to that level, you got to start acting like it. Okay. So when you go to work, grind out for 8 hours, go home tired, stinky, and hungry, and you probably sold a car that day. Right. Those are the days. Those are the days you sold something, when you're absolutely beat. You don't even want to look at nothing. You just want to close your eyes and fall asleep. You sold a car that day because you hustled. You needed to sell a car and you made it a point to sell it. So work on that, but break down that month. Okay, let's move on to focusing the appointment on the phone. So what kind of verbiages does a salesman use, and what kind of verbiages does a customer use on the phone? The salesman is trying to, naturally, we want to get a car deal. So the verbiages a salesman uses on the phone is, yeah, we can get you approved. We got great financing, or we got great prices. When can you come in? The salesman's verbiage, or the customer's verbiage, is, well, can you just do it over the phone? Right? There's a little tension there. It's not a lot of tension. It's a little tension. Can you just do it over the phone? Can I send you pictures of my trade? You know, things like that.
Yeah.
Right? They want to take the easiest route because that's just what customers do. When you go shopping, you don't want to wait around a whole long time to buy a TV. You want to boom, boom, get in and get out. Right? So it's the same thing for a customer. They want to do as much as they can before they get into the dealership. It's our job as a salesman to not allow a car deal happen over the phone, because first, you can't sell a car over the phone. We've heard that. And second, what do they do once they got your numbers?
They take it somewhere else.
Exactly. So knowing that, you have to fight tooth and nail to not succumb to their request. You need to be a salesman and have them succumb to your request, and that's getting them in the door. So remember that the next phone call is, they're going to do everything they can to get information out of me so they don't have to come in, and I'm not going to have a car deal. So you just simply don't allow them to get the information they want. You're going to be very helpful in doing it, but I'm going to tell you what to say so that way they want to come in. Okay. Because once,
I guess,
go ahead.
Oh, no, go on. I was going to say, I guess that relates back to the point where, when I talk too much, it's all those things that, maybe they're getting they're getting all that information out of me. And then I sit there thinking, well, I've just told you all this stuff and I haven't sold you a car.
They don't need you anymore.
Yeah. Which I thought it's, I can give you all this information and I guess it's going to work. But I've slowly realized over time, and even listening to my colleagues' conversations, and I've realized that you're sort of you're not teasing the guest, but you pick what to say and when to say it. A lot of the time it's us asking questions.
Yeah. The reality of the truth is customers will take everything from you and give you nothing if you allow it. Okay. It's a brutal thing customers do. Guess what? A customer can lie to you the whole process. They're allowed to lie to you the entire process. You can't get them in trouble, but the second you lie to them one time, you're the bad guy. They go tell your boss, oh, he lied to me. Well, you've been lying the whole time. Okay. You told me your credit was good. You told me your trade was paid off, right? All these things, you lied to me the whole time. So you have to remember, customers are treacherous. They will use every bit of information from you to get a better deal somewhere else, right? Or are you the guy, they just got done talking on the phone with the salesman at the Mercedes store, and now they got all the information from that guy, and then they call Ermin, a professional, that gets them in. You need to be that guy. So the things that you can say to focus on the appointment, I got them written down here. Some of them that I use is, I can't wait to meet you. Right? That makes it personal, and it makes it like, oh, okay. Because the reason why customers they want to do everything over the phone is, first, it's quicker and easier, but they're scared of the dealership. They're scared of the car business. They have zero practice in buying cars. So they know when they call a guy, he's a pro. They're a little bit scared. So when you say things like, I can't wait to meet you, or the way this vehicle drives, I can't wait to test drive you in it, and I want to show you these things. So when you start using verbiages like they're already in the dealership, they can start visualizing themselves at the dealership, and their scared level goes down because they're kind of familiar with your dealership, you know, in a imaginary form. Another one is you got to see this paint in person, the way it sparkles. I could send you 300 pictures over the phone, and you see it one in person in the sunlight, and it's like, that's not what the pictures look like. You got to see it in person.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to use verbiages like that. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to have you test drive it. I actually drove one very similar to this. It was awesome. It blew my mind, all the stuff I Googled, and then I drove it. It's a completely different car than what they were saying on Google. So, man, I can't wait to meet you and show it to you. Or you got to see this paint. Or our process here at our dealership is so easy. People are always so freaked out about coming to this dealership, and then they get here and they're like, man, this place is awesome. Yeah. Okay, so when you're talking with them and they're trying to say things like, well, can't you just do it over the phone? Right? Because sometimes they get a little snippy. You got to combat them with things like, oh, we don't do it over the phone. I can't test drive you over the phone, but when you get here, I really want to show you this car. Well, I've driven that truck before, this exact one with this exact VIN or something similar. And you got to overcome those objections on the phone, just like in person. It's no different. But instead of selling the car, you're selling them to get to the dealership.
Yeah, I've even had that experience recently. It doesn't come across too often where they're a bit combatant, I guess, and the tension is there. But the good thing is when you're selling sort of the premium, or when you're selling a BMW, right, you sort of have that. The verbiage I use would be, well, look, Mr. Customer, you are spending a lot of money, right? Whether it's 100,000 or 200,000, it's always the ones when it's 200,000, they don't want to come in. And it's, well, fair enough. But at the same time, you are spending a lot of your hard-earned money. So what I'd like to do is make sure you get all the right information and I do my job properly, because at the end of the day, well, you're spending $200,000. That's
yeah. And when you tell them that stuff, sound very genuine and passionate, and throw in the, I would like to meet you, and compliment the guy, right? You can compliment a guy over the phone. You got the phone up to your ear and you're like, yeah, this car, oh my goodness, you can afford one of these? Holy moly, I can't wait to meet you, right? And you have fun and you get them laughing because they want to meet a guy that's energetic and business savvy. And guys that are at that level, they know a salesman tactic. They know they know things like, well, I like to get you in to test drive it because you're spending a lot of money. They know that tactic. You have to do things like emotional stuff. Oh, I can't wait to meet you. I know you drove the other one, but there's something special about this particular one we have in our showroom. It's got the same engine. It's got the same driveline, but it drives different. I can't believe it. And you get that kind of emotion up to get them inside the showroom. So the things that I used was emotional things. I can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to show you how this vehicle drives. You got to see this paint in person. Our process here at our dealership is so easy. Wait until you see what we do in our showroom. It's like no other dealership. Okay. And then you make the customer feel like they're already there. If they're still blunt about it and they just want numbers, that's when you can get blunt back. Okay. Sometimes you got to fight fire with fire, and you can't be scared. You got to say, well, our policy at our dealership is I can't sell you a car unless you've come in and driven it. Okay. Yeah. And I can't work numbers until you've test driven it. That's just how we've done it since day one. It's very successful. I really can't wait to meet you. And if they're still unwilling to do that, I mean, they don't see any value in what you're saying, they're probably not buying anyway. They want a number so they can verify if the number they got at the dealership that they're already driving to buy is valid. Okay. So I tell my guys this, there's only so much you can do with a customer. It's up to them if they want to buy. You can't grab their hand and have them sign, right? So all you can do is the very, very best you can do. Okay. So remember that if a guy doesn't come in or you lose a deal, don't beat yourself up. It's water off a duck's back. There's still 1 million more of those people out there that are going to buy a car from you. So don't I see a lot of salesmen beat themselves up, and they throw away 7 days of the month on thinking about past deals that they lost. Nope, I'm good. Who's next? Right. So if you have those tough deals and you can't get them in or you can't sell them, it's okay. Maybe try some follow-up down the road, but you can't force someone to buy. You can only do the very best job you can do. And that's just how it is. So make them feel like they're already in the showroom by saying stuff like that. You kind of see where that can help.
Yeah. You can even see, relating back to that, the other point that I was making was making it more about them, less about the car. And I think that also applies on over the phone when you're making appointments and things like that. It's like you said, even when I spoke about it, it was about the car. When you spoke about it, I can't wait to meet you. You know?
Yeah.
So it was genuinely caring about the guest and what they need and what they want, less my own agenda. And I was listening to, I sort of play the tough times. I had it on repeat today. And you mentioned, well, you've got to be genuine about the customer, not your own agenda. And that's what I feel like I've sort of got stuck in, is my own agenda, making my 10 cars, 15, whatever, making my money. It's not even so much about, look, as genuine as I'm trying to be, because I am, maybe it's just not coming across right to the guest. And I feel like that's when I first started. I put myself in the position of that side of the table because I bought a new car before. And that was the whole reason of these guys even hiring me, was, you know what, you bought a new car before, you've been through the process. So that's what made it genuine, where now I'm more on this side of the table.
Yeah.
So I'm doing more the car salesman things, I guess.
Well, and Ermin, that was brand new, was vulnerable. Right. Ermin now is guarded and putting up a front of, hey, I'm a whatever it is, you're not vulnerable anymore. Okay. So you have to almost be a little bit vulnerable, and it's okay to get your feelings hurt. So verbiages that I used was, I'm still learning. I know I've been here a year or two, but I'm still learning. Sometimes I feel like I'm fumbling around the car business, and customers are like, oh no, you're good. Right. You're a little bit vulnerable through a sales tactic. Of course you're not. Of course you're not still learning. You're a pro. But those little things that show vulnerability will lower a customer's guard, and they'll look at you as their younger brother or their nephew, not as a rigid professional, I drive a Lamborghini car salesman, because that's how they think you are. They think you got $400K in the bank, that you drive a sports car, you got 9 girlfriends, and you got gold watches. That is how your customer thinks of you. So that is why the vulnerable the new guy, they know he hasn't made it yet. They remind him of their younger brother or their nephew or their cousin or their grandson. And the guy that they're meeting now is the guy that they think has 9 girlfriends, a Porsche, and all that. So it's not just going back to the basics. It's being vulnerable is kind of like being genuine. Okay. And do you hear how I'm kind of talking to you, like my tone? It's passionate. That's the passion you need. So if I said, Ermin, the fact that you hired me to do this one-on-one, I can pay some of my bills that I need to take care of my family. Does that sound vulnerable?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Does it make you feel better? Does it make you feel better about the money you sent me?
Yeah.
Doesn't it? It's like, oh, do you want more? So when you're vulnerable with a customer, it's the same thing. They will release money to the guy that they know is just an up-and-comer trying to make it. Versus, what if I said this? Hey, Ermin, thanks for sending that money. I'm going to go buy a new cigar box and probably go gamble tonight. How would you feel about that?
No, I wouldn't feel that great, to be honest.
Who do you want the money to go to?
To the nice guy, to the one that cares, the one that's vulnerable. Yeah, you're right.
The family guy, right? So you got to show a little vulnerability when you're on the lot. You're not a rigid professional killer salesman. You are, but you can't show that you are. You have to be a little bit vulnerable. So work on that when you're with a customer, even on the phone, but it really works in person because I can look you in the eyes, look at your screen, look at my eyes. I can look you in the eyes and say, I'm just trying to make it. If if I can sell a car today, I get to feed my family. It's just one of those things. I hate saying that. I don't want to sound like a salesman, but it's just what I got to do. So let me continue to do my job to try to help you. Okay. And if there's a car deal here and you feel like I've earned your business, then you can buy the car. If not, that's okay. We can shake hands as friends and maybe we can see each other at church or something.
That's some good verbiage.
How do you say no to that guy? Okay. Now over the phone, you can, after you say, hey, I'd really like to meet you here. Now let's show some vulnerability. My manager always watches me when I'm doing my phone calls. I got to set appointments. I need customers in. So I'm really relying on you to come in. I know you mentioned you might want to come in. I'm kind of relying on you now, right? Does that show a little vulnerability?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't sound like that polished. Yeah. If you guys make it in around 4:30, and I'll be here. And I might be with customers, but the guy doesn't want to see that salesman. He wants to see the guy that's getting busted by his boss. He wants to help the guy. So
funny that you mentioned that. Yeah, funny that you, yeah, because that last bit is what I catch myself saying on the phone. Yeah, come, I'll be here. I live here.
It's because you don't want to sound like a new weak salesman that's not doing so good. So and no one would. I don't want to sound like a salesman that sold 2 cars last month. But the way I word it is I'm a successful salesman that's just trying to provide for my family. If I don't do these trainings, sir, I can't feed the family. And that's not your burden, but I'm just doing whatever I can to help you like I was hired to do. My boss said when I got hired, please take care of your customers, take them on test drives, make sure they like the car. And if they don't, that's okay. That's all I'm trying to do. Right? Do you detect that vulnerability?
Yeah.
Use it.
It's genuine, it's passionate, and that's something that I feel like I'm missing. And I'm just that relates back to blabbering on about the car, and I'm so sick of going on about the car because I'm just on repeat with every guest, and obviously no one's buying cars. Where when I look back on it, I was new. I'm looking for an SUV. I've got all these here, right? I couldn't even tell you which model it was, but we'll do this together, right?
Yeah. Vulnerability.
It's genuine. It flows it's as genuine as it gets. Like, I don't know. I'm here to do my job. Where now it's okay, very business-like and information and very focused on information and even numbers. I don't do a lot of the numbers work, so I'm very easy to pull back from that. The numbers isn't really an issue for me. I've never been involved with too much of pricing. I just sort of flick them to my boss. But even now, I have trouble passing them straight over. So one thing I'm going to get back into doing is sort of walking back into the office after every time I do something with my sales manager, and as if I was new, right? He wanted to know everything. Where now I'm sort of on my own, and I don't really walk in there as much.
Yeah.
Whether that's I don't want to bite the bullet of showing some weakness to the boss or whatever. I'm going to take it back to that and at least get some guidance as I go, and so we're all on the same page instead of me. Oh, hey boss, I've got a customer up to price and he doesn't even know what's going on. So using as much as I can to help me out.
Yeah.
Having those resources available as well. So,
well, you got to remember the new GM that's obviously a genius, right? There's a tool. You got probably awesome sales manager. There's a tool. Ermin doesn't know everything about the car business, right? You have banks. You don't know everything about the car business. I don't either. So I rely on my teammates too to help. So if you're struggling with something, don't let the customer walk, because know this: once they're gone, they're gone. Okay, it's life or death. If they say they're leaving, you ever hear your managers tell you this? Oh, hold on, I just had an idea. I'll be right back. To your customer.
That's what they're telling me to say.
Yeah. It's because
I heard that one yesterday.
It's because they're a lifeline. They're going to throw you a lifeline to try to save your deal, because once that customer's gone, they're gone. And your manager knows this, but salesmen sometimes believe the customer. Yeah, we're just going to go grab a bite to eat. We'll be right back and we'll test drive it. No, they're not. So don't ever believe that. That's why they say, hold on one second. I just had an idea. because it pauses that customer from leaving. You go tell your sales manager, I'm in trouble. Customer wants to leave. They didn't want to test drive the car. This is how far I got into the deal. Help. And then the sales manager, if he really cares about the dealership and is putting the dealership first, he's going to say, let me go talk with them. And he's going to walk out there and do his little thing. Next thing you know, the guy's test driving the car. Okay.
Yeah.
If he's good at what he does, he'll test drive the car. That's why he's in that position. So don't let customers leave. Get your tools that you have at your dealership. I wish I could fly down there in 1 minute and come help you. I would love to do that. One day it might happen, but I got a long ways to go, buddy.
Yeah, it's a long flight.
It is a long flight. So
I'm sure I'll come up there.
Yeah, we'll meet in person one day, I'm sure. Okay, so using those tools at your dealership, now you mentioned about spewing the information. I do want to touch on that a little more. Just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean you need to tell the knowledge. Okay. If you're hunting in the forest and you see an elk or a deer, that doesn't mean you use every bullet in your chamber, in your magazine, right?
Wow. Right? Good one. Good one.
Right? If you're a good hunter, you just need one. Okay. So when you're on the sales floor with your customer, asking questions is like luring the animal in. You're luring them in by asking them questions. The closer they get to the hunter, the easier the shot, right? Yeah. Asking questions allows people to talk about themselves. Okay. What do you do for a living? And really listen to them. Wait, you rescue animals? Oh my goodness, that is amazing. What kind of animal? What's the craziest animal you've ever rescued? Oh, we rescued a tiger. What? Right? And you have fun with that kind of stuff. But asking questions, you're in control of the conversation, and you're really collecting information about that customer. You're luring them in for the final shot. Boom. Why don't you guys come on in? I'm going to put it on paper. It only takes a few minutes. And if you guys decide, hey, I like the numbers, great, you can buy it. If not, that's okay too. Okay. But you brought them in. You can't say that line if you just met them on the lot. Hey, welcome. Yeah, my name's Ermin. If you like the numbers, why don't you guys come on in? It doesn't work. So you got to lure them in by asking them questions, building rapport, and going through that process and keeping to the basics. Do you have any questions or anything that you want to add? Because sometimes I go on these rants like we're just talking about.
No, not exactly. It's just see how they all sort of relate to each other, all the points that I've mentioned, whether it's the appointment to the figures and sort of breaking down your months, and then talking too much when you are trying to make these appointments and not spilling everything over the phone. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I sort of realized over the past little while now, the phone was a hard one at the beginning, because I realized that everybody that calls up, even everybody that walks in, to be honest, everybody that comes to make contact with us, you're obviously interested, right? You're here for a reason. You're not here for nothing. Mm-hmm. My job is to figure out what stage you're up to, whether that's even asking you directly or asking questions. I've just got to figure out what you're up to. In person, it's a lot easier because, you can visually see how they're standing and how they react. Over the phone, it's a lot more difficult. I don't really get a whole bunch of phone calls. Well, lately I haven't. But that was one thing that took me a while to understand, because it was just like they're asking questions over the phone. You inquired. I'm here to answer. Less the opposite.
Yeah, when I hear salesmen, and I was even taught this when I first started, you ask the customer, where are you at in the buying process? Or things like that. Have you visited any other dealerships before? That doesn't matter. Who the heck cares what place they are? Oh, is today just information day? Well, every day's information day if you open your eyes. So I avoided those questions at all costs, because it would only make a negative tone to the deal when the customer said, we're just looking. Oh, we're in the preliminary stages. Okay. So I asked questions that I didn't like the answers to. So I just said, I'm not going to ask those questions anymore. When they come into my lot, I'm going to take them through the process. I don't care where they're at in their process. Oh, we've already driven one before. Have you driven this one? No? Okay. for me to do my job correctly, let me just go get my dealer plate, make a quick copy of your license, because my manager is watching, is going to ask, did I take him on a test drive? You just got to let me do my job. All right, fair enough. Right. So, so when you got customers on the lot and you're doing that stuff, remember, ask those questions, and, just, you got to be kind of diligent at your process, Ermin. I see greatness in you. You just have to do it. I also see a guy who's still guarding the general public from what he does for a living. I don't know if I'm correct or not. Does everyone know that you sell BMWs? Everybody on the planet that you know.
No.
Have you guarded it a little bit from people?
For the past little while, yes. And now that you've sort of been following, things like social media, yeah. That's how it is.
I was there at one point. I didn't want to be called a car salesman. I didn't want that. I wanted to do something else. But after 11 years in it, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, I'm a car guy. This is who I am. There is no better job for me. Okay. I'm not an accountant. I'm not some boring engineer behind a desk. I'm not a Forest Service guy. I'm not a construction guy. I don't know how to build anything. I'm a freaking car guy.
Yeah.
And the moment I said that to myself, and I put on all my social media where I work, I started making videos. I became everybody's car guy. They text me about, hey, what do you think of this car? It's not a car he could afford or I can afford. But guess who's he's texting at 1 a.m. in the morning? Not his best friend. He's texting the car guy. So what I see in you is a guy that's still a little bit guarded. And you need to just let it loose, man. Break open the floodgates. Let the world know that I sell BMWs and I'm proud of this product. I don't care about recalls. I don't care about service issues. It is the ultimate driving machine. This is what I am. If I could get a tattoo of BMW on my forehead, I would have, but my boss won't let me. Okay. Be passionate about it and let the world know. Okay. The other thing for you to do is you got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit of being genuine. Okay. So we're going to do something out of the comfort zone right here on the video.
All right. Let me just get comfortable. Sitting in your car isn't all that comfortable. I was going to do it in the office, but everybody's walking past. Last time everybody was sort of just looking at me, and I'll just, you know what?
We'll
go on lunch break. And
it's because the reason why they're looking at you, Ermin, is because you're intriguing. You're an intriguing sales person that they haven't figured out yet. And they want to know, what is this guy up to? What's he doing in the office? Otherwise, you would have never seen anyone walk by. Right? They would have been, he's just eating. They want to know what you're up to, because they want you back in the comfort zone with them. They don't want you to go to the top where your videos are being played across the world. You know that, right? My podcast is across the world.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, your video.
What's the time over there? 10 o'clock, and here the sun's still out.
It's 10:23 right now. People know I'm doing this live. People in America know I'm doing this live one-on-one with you. In America.
Wow.
Okay, so be proud of what you are and what you're doing and who you are, and that will help elevate you, because you're going to spew success and professionalism, and good energy will attract rich people, and rich people can change your life. Okay. Rich people buy BMWs, but you're going to meet people that are going to help you buy a house one day. You're going to meet people that are going to invite you over for a barbecue. And remember the steak I was talking about that I still don't know who bought it. I still literally don't know who bought my 22-ounce porterhouse steak that was that big. It was like an $80 steak. I don't know who bought it. I was at that kind of table with the big dogs. It feels good. And that's where you need to be. Look at you.
That's where I want to be.
That's where you need to be.
That's the plan.
It is the plan, but you got to focus on it every day and not let anything get in your path. Remember that one quote I said? Love me or hate me. Add me or block me, but you ain't going to stop me.
Okay, yeah.
I can't take credit for that. Yeah. I heard that and I've ran with it. Love me or hate me, add me or block me. The one thing you're not going to do is stop me. That needs to be your mentality every day. And you need to go in, look at your goals and say, I got to sell a car in the next 3 days, regardless of days off, of headaches, of tummy aches, of I ate bad food. It doesn't matter. If you want to make big money and hit your goals, you got to hit them. I know this is blank. I'm just pretending there's a calendar on it. Okay, so here's what I want you to do.
There'll be a calendar when I get back.
I want you to give me a genuine Ermin Tupkovic meet and greet at your dealership. I just walked on the lot. What does Ermin say?
What does Ermin say? You know, before we get into that, what I say versus what I want to say and what I should be saying is probably different, right?
Let's do both. Tell me what you already say. What's your common thing that you say?
All right. Good morning, guys. How are we today?
Good. Thank you.
Great. Oh, fuck, now we're on the spot, aren't we?
That's called the comfort zone.
The comfort zone. It's like I don't come out the gate and introduce myself the way I'd like to. I don't come out and say, look, my name is Ermin. Welcome to MacArthur BMW. I'm the trainee. I'm still in training. That's not something that I say. It's, hey, guys, how are we? I didn't want to say the bare minimum, but then they will come in and tell me what they're up to. You know, I probably won't even get a name until we head outside, right? And like I said, maybe it's a bullet to bite to even say this. But it's something that I obviously need to be doing and I want to be doing. I want to walk out and say, hey, look, my name is Ermin. Welcome, guys, to MacArthur BMW. It's not something I've done. Maybe looking back on it when I first started working or something that I did. But it's something that I'm definitely not doing now. Right? Okay. Whether that's a confidence thing or if it's probably a confidence thing, right? It's probably definitely a confidence thing.
Okay, so when I get greeted by somebody, whether it's a waiter or whatever, and they greet me like that, I feel great. When they greet me a good way, like, hey, welcome to Beverly's restaurant. My name's Layla. I'm going to be your server today. Thank you for coming in. I love that. Now, for her, it was awkward. For me, it was amazing as a customer. Wow, this place is awesome. Okay, that's where the $120 lobster tower comes from. They greet people like that. The average bill at this restaurant in our town is probably $500. The average car at the BMW dealership is how much?
It's a six-figure car, that's for sure.
Exactly. So
over six figures.
Who deserves the better meet and greet? The guy like me who's buying an $80 steak, or the guy that's spending $150,000 on a BMW? Really, both, right? They both should be getting it because it's still a lot of money for food. But doesn't the guy that's spending $200,000 with Ermin deserve that meet and greet?
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
question.
It feels awkward for you because you're in your comfort zone. But I promise you, you say that to somebody, they're going to love it. They're not going to feel awkward. They're going to be happy they chose this dealership first. So try not to think of it as it's an awkward thing to do. Try to think of it as this customer is going to love this meet and greet, whether they show it or not. They're going to feel like $1 million when I go out there and introduce myself. Now, tell me how you would do it as a professional how you want to say it.
How I'd like to say it? Well, sort of similar to what I said before, but I'd come out and, good morning, how are you today?
Oh, right? Good.
Good morning. That's fantastic. My name is Ermin, and you are?
Kyle.
Kyle, nice to meet you, Kyle. What's brought you to the dealership today?
You know, I'm just here to look at some cars.
Some cars? And, okay, breaking character. I've come to a roadblock here, right? Where have I gone wrong? Like I said, I'm sort of going to bite the bullet and just be honest. And
hey, that's okay.
That's how it is with me, right? That's how the conversation flows, and they'll come out. I'm here to see a car. Great. What car are you looking for? X3. Great. Come on outside and I will show you the X3. So, and I know last time we did the podcast, we sort of found ways around it, but I feel like when I get into that situation,
you panic.
You panic.
You panic and you go back to Old Faithful, and that's just going along with the customer's motive. Okay.
Yes.
and their sales. They're deciding the sales pattern or the sales process. So what you could say is, if you're walking up to them, I've watched salesmen do this and I've watched salesmen not do this, but I've watched salesmen walk to their customer with like not a crazy intensity, but a very professional walk with their hand out and say, let me try it with you. Okay. I'm going to work at your dealership. MacArthur, right?
MacArthur, yes.
MacArthur. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm walking up to you with my hand out. How you doing there? My name's Kyle Galaz, and you are?
My name is Ermin. Nice to meet you.
Ermin what?
Tupkovic.
Tupkovic. Very cool. Well, my name's Kyle. Like I said earlier, welcome to MacArthur BMW. I'm one of the sales professionals here. Now I'm still learning. They have me under a training status, but I'm here to help you 100%. What brings you in today? And thank you for coming in. Okay, pause.
Wow.
Now I stumble a little bit because that's not my dealership, and it's a little bit different over Zoom, but these are the things that you practice at home. Okay. Hi, welcome to my dealership. My name's Kyle Galaz, and you are?
Well, you can see even the small things, right? When you're talking, your facial expressions, I've noticed that your hand,
Yeah.
I am, right? Your hand always comes to your chest. All the small things that help, right?
And it shows being genuine. When I do this, it's a genuine thing I'm doing. It's because I really care who you are. It's not just a sales thing like, hi, welcome to MacArthur BMW. My name's Ermin. How can I help you? There's no emotion. Or I walk up with my hand already out. How you doing? My name's Kyle Galaz, and you are? Ermin, nice to meet you. Welcome to MacArthur BMW. I'm one of the new guys that got me under a training status, which I feel like I'm a little better than that, but
and that's a big one. That's a big one. That I always feel like I say that, but it's way too late. It's not something I come out the gate with. And I feel like if I came out the gate with it, like I'm guessing I used to, because that was the first thing I'd tell people, hey, look, this is my second week here. It's my third day here, right? Every day is my third day. Where now it's maybe because I know all these things, I feel like I can't say I'm the trainee because then I'll use all these things. They're going to think, well, no, you're not, Whereas, and I think that sort of works hand in hand with how much information you give and playing along with well, to be fair, you're not even playing along with it because I am still in training, right?
Yeah. Well,
I'm always going to be in training.
Exactly. And do what your boss tells you, right? If your boss says, hey, you're when you say your name, say you're a trainee, there's a reason why. It's because it works. Don't get too smart for your own good. Do what your boss tells you. Now, if he says jump off a cliff, maybe not, but there's a reason why they use that terminology. I'm a trainee. It's because it works. It worked before. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes when you're still a trainee, but you've been there for 2 years and you're really good at what you do, the customer will call you out. You said you were new. How do you know all this stuff? Well, I'm new to the car business, but I'm not new to the people business. I used to sell clothes and I used to be in the customer service industry. So you see how I twisted that to where I'm still new,
Yeah, wow.
but I'm not new to the people. I've been selling stuff since I was in 3rd grade. So then you can still sound like a pro, but still be new at the same time. It's a little trick that I used to use too. But that's about it. I think we've hit an hour and some change. I know you're at lunch. So
yeah, they're gonna come. They're gonna be like, where are you at? But yeah, look, I think the biggest there's a lot of takeaways. But I think it always comes back down to one, the basics, and two, just being genuine. And what is my job? Yes, it's to sell a car, but it's actually to help you.
Yeah.
And I always used to walk around saying, hey, look, I'm not here to sell your car. I'm here to help you find one, help you buy the right one, help you put your money in the right place, and all those sort of verbiages. But now I really sit back and I look at the people that I've not sold cars to. It's like, wow, you're really not genuine at all. Your own motive,
Yeah, you're just
in it for yourself.
You sound too good for their business.
Yeah,
bring yourself to where you need them, because we need them. Without them, I don't get paid nothing. Without them, you don't 100%. Get paid. So we actually need them. Okay, so before you go, calendar, be vulnerable, sell the appointment by acting like they're already in the show. Wait till you get here and drive this thing and see the paint. Okay, and break down your month. How many cars a day do you need to sell? 0.3. one every 3 days. And if you ever need anything, you message me anytime, buddy. I appreciate your one-on-one.
Well, we'll do this. You'll see. We'll do this again.
All right, and I'll post this.
Like
on
I said, I want to be able to. Oh no, that's fine. I want to be able to just, like I said, there's always something that I don't know that obviously you do or anybody else does. And as much information as I can get, great. It's more just now actually doing it and stop saying I'm going to do it. My boss always tells me, are you a gunner or are you a doer? And that's something that's going to stick by me for a while because I think I'm a bit of a gunner at the moment. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that.
Hey, let the world know who you are and what you do and be proud of it, man. It's a great paying job. Be proud and get out there and mix it up.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, bud. Have a great day.
I'll speak to you shortly.
All right, Ermin. Have a great night.
Have a good night. Thank you,
great
sir.
Day.
Thank you.
Bye.